Welcome to episode 51 of Rebuilding the Vintage Camper my wife and I bought on Facebook Marketplace. Today we did some work on the inside of the camper, preparing for some flooring. But we'll talk about that in a minute. The first thing we did was replace all of the insulation that we had removed to run our electrical lines through our walls. And unfortunately, a lot of the insulation pieces that were originally in those spots no longer fit because of the electrical wire. So we ended up having to cut a bunch of new ones, which was a little more work than we were anticipating. The pink/purple pieces of insulation that you see throughout the camper do not bend or flex at all. So some of these areas that had a lot of cables running through them, we had to go with a different kind of insulation to kind of bend and weave behind the cables. And while I was doing that, I figured I would run these last two cables that came from the solar panels that you saw in our last video, and I ran those through the wall back to where they'll connect to the electrical system. The process for that was drilling the holes, sanding them, and then running the cable through all the holes, and then adding shrink wrap where the cables pass through the wall, and then adding some zip ties so those areas don't move. Then I swept and vacuumed the entire camper because we are getting ready to install some flooring. I know you're probably thinking, it's way too early to start installing floors, and you would be correct. We are only installing flooring under our bed area where our electrical system will be because we need to start installing our electrical components, and we want them to sit on top of something more attractive than OSB plywood. So this forced us to start thinking about some color schemes that we like because we want the flooring to match the cabinets and whatnot, and we settled on a couple of shades of green that we think we like. We printed off a bunch of photos of campers and houses that kind of have the aesthetic we're going for, and we had attached them to this big diagram of our camper, which is kind of exciting. We're starting to look at some of these finishing ideas. We picked out the flooring we liked, and we will be installing that next week. So hit that follow button and join us on this journey.